Good afternoon, we are now live.
Good afternoon, good morning, wherever you call from. I'm Vincent Garnier, the Director General of the FTTH Council Europe, and we're very happy to welcome you on today's webinar session titled What ROI when implementing computer vision in your field operations. So, and I'm with Augustin Marty, the CEO of Deepomatic, who is sponsoring this session today. We will give maybe a few additional seconds for other participants to join us, and I will kick off in a moment. Bear with me. So, Augustin, if you want to bring us to the next slide, I think we will start with some general information for the audience. A few words about the FTTH Council Europe for those who are not familiar with our organization. We are a non-for-profit industry organization. We are active since 2004 with the mission to promote full fiber network. Our member company are vendors, service provider, operator, investors. The entire value chain behind the development of full fiber network in Europe is represented within the council. And we have multiple activities of education, communication, influence towards policymaker. Part of this activity, one of these activities is to organize informative online session like this webinar series. If you want to go to the next slide, Augustin. So these webinars are organized probably on a monthly basis, and they give you the opportunity to better understand all technology related or market driven aspect of the FTTH network. And the following slide will give us some housekeeping items. So the session will be recorded. So you will receive a link after the webinar, which enable you to replay the session. You will also, having registered to this session, be invited to the future session of the webinar. And should you have any question, and we definitely encourage you to ask questions to Augustin, please use the question box, which can be accessed via the control panel that you must have somewhere on your screen. So there is no possibility to speak, but you can type your question, and we have scheduled maybe 10-15 minutes at the end of this presentation to address any of your questions. So don't hesitate to ask questions. Now let me introduce you to the topic of today. And maybe before we dive into the content of this session, let me give you some perspective from the FTTH Council Europe. We see that overall the rollout of fiber leads to an overall coverage of close to 60% throughout Europe, which is good progress, but at the same time, there's still 40% to cover. A lot needs still to be done, and sometimes in the most challenging environment. What we think is very important to take into account is the fact that the infrastructure we are putting in place in all European countries is there for decades. We are building not for the next quarter, we're actually building for the next generations. And from that perspective, this is extremely crucial that whatever we do it right from the first time. The cost of poor quality is very significant at multiple levels. First of all, it directly hinders the customer satisfaction, the image of fiber network, and all the services which are built around fiber network, and that reduces the appetite for subscriber to adopt fiber. The question is not only to roll out best practice, but people can use it, and any difficulty in the quality of the network has direct consequence on the level of adoption. Secondly, for the operator, for the company rolling out fiber, quality has a direct impact on their cost and consequently on the return on the investment of these projects. And eventually, an indirect consequence of having to, to go back to your initial installation is an increased carbon footprint, more truck roll, more energy spent to do the same thing. And as FTTH networks are complex systems, a lot is linked to the capacity of the teams to do operational activity in the field in a very good way. And for that reason, company like Deepomatic came up with a very smart, innovative solution to help all operators and their subcontractor involved in the development of FTTH network to increase the reliability of the work they do. Augustin will tell much more about it, but for us at the FTTH Council, this is a very interesting complementary service that our members are able to bring to operators by ensuring and helping them to do everything right in the first time and to achieve highest possible quality in their installation and maintenance. So with that, Augustin, I will give you the floor and let you develop the detail of this session for our audience.
So thank you very much. I'm very pleased to sponsor this webinar and to bring those information to the members of the FTTH Council Europe. So first, the idea is here to understand the return on investment when operators are implementing computer vision, artificial intelligence in their field operations. Most of the time when I'm talking to an audience about computer vision, they believe it is a technology that is only working for autonomous cars, army application, GAFA application, and they consider that in the world of infrastructure and field operations, this is not a major technology, promising though, but still at a stage of innovation. Here, first, we are talking about quality control for computer vision, for the automation of quality control. So to let you understand what we are going to talk about, it's the possibility for field workers to perform quality control through their smartphone. They take picture of what they do during the day. The pictures are analyzed in real time and it automates the quality control. If something is going wrong, the technology will let the worker know that there is something to correct in real time, and they can adapt and correct what needs to be corrected to make sure that the task or the job is done accordingly to what is expected and also quality standards. And so back to the perception of artificial intelligence and computer vision, the prospect, the ecosystem in the telecom industry will tell you this is innovation, it's not gonna work. First, I have to understand how to use software, field service management application, even Excel sheet sometimes. But actually, the first message I want to convey is this is an accessible technology. Today, we are going to understand the financial benefits of companies that have deployed computer vision / artificial intelligence in the field for years now. They have succeeded in deploying this technology. They have made it adopted by the field workers. They received the benefit, and they even calculated the cost, the benefit they have received, the benefits they will get in the future, and they have even evaluated the risk in the future to discount the expected benefits to make a calculation. So I'm the CEO of Deepomatic. I'm in charge of business development, and I'm really happy to present you those results today. A few words about Deepomatic just to understand where we are now. We have been working in the field of computer vision for 5 years in the telecom industry. The technology is deployed for more than 30,000 field workers using our applications, our artificial intelligence algorithm every day in the field. They are doing more than 20 million of field operation every year. A field operation is defined as possibly one home connection. It could be one work order. When they are deploying the network, it's the day someone is able to do in half a day in average. And when we are talking about customer, we mainly have large customer, not only, but mid-sized company to large telecom companies. And among our 25 customers, we have CityFibre, Vodafone, Swisscom, Telefonica, Bouygues Telecom, Cirset, and 19 other enterprises. They are based in Europe, but also in the United States, in Canada, or in Latin America. So back to business, about the benefits and the return on investment of using artificial intelligence to automate quality control. First, we will give a few words about quality. Then we will explain a little bit more how does it work, how computer vision is used in the hand of field workers to achieve first time right, to be always right when they are working in the field. Then we will explain the total economic impact methodology, because this calculation of return on investment was not done by Deepomatic. It was done by an independent research company called Forrester. Then we will deliver the results. What are the benefits plus the cost? And finally, one slide to give you the key results summarized in one view. The quality is extremely important in fiber optic operations. Vincent, you have discussed it, you have exposed your point of view, and it's something that is now critical for several reasons. The first one is that we are experiencing a quality crisis in the telecom world because we are lacking skilled workers. Plus, we are facing a moment of at a world level of unprecedented growth in the deployment of fiber network. So mostly everywhere in the world, we are lacking talent, we are lacking skilled people to deploy the network. And at the same time, there is a pressure from politicians because operators receive some subsidies, pressure from the end users that are waiting to be connected. And we really want to deploy the network, economical pressure as well, because it's liberalized in many countries where you want to conquer that market and to be one of the major players. So the pressure plus the lack of skilled people is making telecom in the middle of a quality crisis. And quality is extremely important for all the different types of actors. If you are a wholesale carrier, there is a long-term implication of quality on the state of the network. It's important to protect the infrastructure health to be able to maximize the revenues they are generating. And if you are willing to sell the network at some point, it's important to have a long life cycle forecast to let the buyers get a lot of revenues over the long term. For ISPs, of course, they are ensuring subscriber satisfaction, and they want to secure their revenues, avoiding churn. So the quality of the network, the quality of the broadband is extremely important if they want to keep their customer base. Of course, for subcontractors, for contractors, they need to avoid penalties and they need to maintain trust with their customer, with operators, to gain market share and as Circe, Solution 30, but many other worldwide, to become large enterprise specialized in network deployment. So here I want to ask you a first question, but I give the voice to Vincent to manage the poll.
Absolutely. Let me bring the poll on screen, and I think everyone can see it. The question is, how do you rate your company's quality process when it comes to FTTX operations? So you have the choice between very satisfying, not satisfying, and not to answer, of course. So I can see that most of our attendees, Augustin, are starting to vote. They are start to take shape. Let me give them an additional 30 seconds. I think we have more than 50% of the participants having already voted. It's moving slightly, but I think we are probably stabilizing the result in a few seconds. So I'll another 10 seconds. I'll bring the result live. Okay, let me close the poll and share, which I think should now be visible by everyone. And Augustin, I can share with you that not satisfying is 41%, satisfying 32%. There is only 12% of the respondents describing their process as very satisfying, and 15% are not able to give a clear position. Any comment?
Yeah, so it's really representative of what we are seeing when we discuss with prospect. Often, I would say in more than 50% of the situation, either there is no quality control process in place, either it's really not satisfying. Sometimes, and surprisingly, our customers have satisfying quality control process, but costly quality control process, and they want to automate this control to manage their cost and to reduce the load of the process on their balance sheet. So we see
you're going to explain that process in the next slides.
Absolutely. So first, sorry. The idea of using artificial intelligence is mainly to allow first time right in all the field interventions, all the jobs that are done in the field. And when we're talking about first time right, I want to just to explain that behind this metric that is quite clear, you have three main concepts. First, the idea in first time right is obviously to make sure you are allowing the field worker to succeed their intervention. But you also want to make sure that when they succeed their intervention, it's not just, okay, it's on or off, black or white. You want to make sure it's done respecting all the quality standards that you want to be applied to have a premium network. And then what you want also to do when you are in the field is to collect all the information that are needed to have a full knowledge of the field, to understand during the entire life cycle of your network, what are the assets deployed, what are their health status, is there any equipment that you have changed? All that should be reflected in your IT system to allow the next field worker, when they go for a maintenance or a SAV intervention, to make sure they have all the information. So it's a cycle of quality management, operation management that will allow you to be right and to succeed your intervention, respecting the quality standards, always and always the first time. How does it work with computer vision? It's very simple. It's what I've tried to explain in the beginning of this presentation. We allow the field worker mostly through integration. They can use the app they are using on every day. We allow them to capture a photo. This photo will be analyzed in real time with artificial intelligence. So we can either analyze photos, videos, anything, the cables, of street cabinet, of splitters, of data center. We can also read label. We can read a very different type we can use optical character recognition to read whatever is written. We can also even use the technology to transform an analog device into something that we record. So you can take a picture of your light power meter and it will record the speed of the light in the network. Then if anything goes wrong, we give a feedback to the worker. So they can correct what they are doing, take again a picture, and when everything is okay, the intervention is fully approved and the technician or the field agent can go to the next job. And of course, it means that you are centralizing all those information in your headquarters. And it means that you have performed quality control on 100% of your intervention. Let's go to numbers. Let's understand what are the impact, the benefits of those technologies. So the study, to understand the benefits, the study was performed by Forrester. It's the #1 organization based in the United States for those purposes. And the idea is that they will interview 4 of our customers anonymously. At Deepomatic, we don't know the reason, we don't see the interview, we don't participate in the interviews, and we don't receive the results of each company that is interviewed. We only receive the average results of those companies. And then the interview cover all the aspects, the cost, the benefit, the risk, the timeline, also over 3 years. Most of the time our customers are getting obviously benefits on more than 3 years, but still the study is done on 3 years. They have interviewed 4 telecom customers, 1 in the UK, 1 in Latin America, 2 in continental Europe, with very different type of revenues. The smallest has $80 million in revenues and the biggest 20 billion. And they have also very different type of operations. So for one of our customers, it was mainly home connection. So they had more than 2 million of interventions per year. Some of them were mostly doing high value interventions, and they were building network, basically speaking. So it's a smaller number of interventions. And then the results of the benefits were blended in order to make sure that the study is fully anonymous and that we don't receive the result. Why? Because obviously you don't want to share precisely the number of the benefits quantification with your vendor because they don't want the vendor to use it commercially speaking. So in average, the average customer, called the composite organization, has $4 billion in revenues, 88,000 employees. They are doing installation, construction, maintenance of telecom networks. 3 of them were operators, 3 of them were wholesale carrier, meaning that 2 of them are both. They are 4 customers. In average, our customers were performing 100,000 operations in year 1, 130 in year 2, and 170 in year 3. Let's go to the benefits. The first benefit that was calculated was simply understanding the impact of reducing the revisits. So the results our customer gave to Forrester was that over 3 years, they had reduced their rate of revisit from 10% to 5.5%. In details, it's like 10 to 7 to 6 to 5.5, something like that, which results in $4.2 million of savings over 3 years. So this is very simple. If you have to revisit, you have to pay again for the build cost, depending on the situation, but most of the time, our customer noticed that there is a problem of quality. There was a problem in the deployment of the network when they are connecting the end customer. So when they try to connect the end customer, installing the box in the living room of them, they will notice that something is wrong, and they have to rebuild some part of the network, which is obviously quite costly. In average, the cost of a revisit was $400. Obviously, it's dispatched. The one that were having a lot of interventions were having a smaller cost of revisit, and the one that was deploying the backbone of the network were having more expensive revisits. And then, obviously, you have the cost of the quality control process itself. So in average, this is the beauty of the artificial intelligence, you need much less people in the field to audit what is done, because you are only auditing corner cases that are not analyzed efficiently by artificial intelligence. And not only the customers were saving money on audits that are in person in the field, but also in audits that were performed in back office. They were dividing by 10 those expenses in average. Here you can see that the savings are smaller, because what we see is that most of the time, the people, they don't have that many people, people or employees dedicated to quality control. It's quite rare to have companies that are employing tens of employees to audit the field or to review all the images that are taken. So this is why most of the savings were calculated based on the revisits. Still, it's quite a lot of money on average. What's interesting is that through the interviews, unfortunately for Deepomatic, our customers were explaining that they could not give numbers because most of the benefits were not possible to calculate precisely, and they were not comfortable at guessing numbers on those 5 types of benefits. The first one is obviously scalability. If you allow your field workers to perform their job right the first time, you will deploy the network faster, you will market the availability of the fiber network in the lender, in the region, in the area faster, you will connect people faster, and you will get revenues on your network faster. Then it's also about, and I've discussed quite a long time about it, it's not only about like just, okay, the job is not next. The benefits are calculated mainly around the idea of productivity, but when we are talking about quality, we are talking about customer satisfaction, and obviously we are talking about reduction in customer churn. I have one customer that is close from being able to calculate this reduction in customer churn, but it was not included in this market research performed by Forrester. Then you have also a more accurate contractor billing, which is actually something very pleasant for both the operators and the contractors. One of our customers has fully automated the acceptance process of the job that are done in the field, and also automated the contracting and the payment of their 4 subcontractors. Another of our customer, they had 70 people in charge of addressing issues with contractor billings. So it's something that was not quantified, but we know is a very important cost for our customers. Obviously, you can also improve the field agent experience, because none of them is happy to be controlled afterward, is happy to fail its intervention and to say to the end customer, sorry, we are not able to connect you, we need to plan another intervention. And they are actually happy to receive a direct feedback that is not coming from their manager, that is coming from an application, a buddy explaining them why the optical fiber is curved too much, why they have connected the person to the wrong port, and so on and so forth. And also reducing the number of truck rolls, reducing the number of revisits has a direct impact on the reduction of your ecological footprint. We have made the calculation. This impact is far bigger than the cost of the data centers that are used to analyze the images and to perform the quality control. It's time to have the poll number 2.
Absolutely, Augustin, and I will launch this immediately. So question to our audience: what do you consider as the major area for improvement in your company's fiber operations? 4 options: reducing the number of rework on the field, reduce the number of on-site remote audits, meeting deployment deadline by increasing pace of operations, or finally reducing the number of customer service calls. So I see our audience has already started to answer. It's an interesting set of results. 30% of our participants have already voted. We're going to reach 50% very soon. I can see that we have 2 points, Augustin, which are clearly more important than the other one. I think without further ado, I will close the poll and share the result because it will not change too much now. So reducing the number of rework on the field, you'll be happy to see that for 50% of our audience, I mean, it scores at 50%, and meeting deployment deadline at 26%. So those are clearly the 2 key area of improvement, which I guess are also very much linked to what Deepomatic can offer. But before I ask you to comment, I would like to encourage our audience to ask questions. Once again, you can use the question box in the panel control. We already received a couple of them, but I'm sure Augustin will be happy to take much more than that. So please, any question, use the question box. And with that, Augustin, you comment on the results of the survey.
Yes, so first, thank you all for answering this survey. It's quite interesting and always reassuring to see that the pain that have been calculated, the benefits that have been calculated are actually mirroring your main concern. So today, what we see on the market is that most of the companies, they really are focusing on the day-to-day operation. The first time right metric is key, and they really want to avoid rework, failure on the field. Then it's correlated and it's linked to meeting the deployment deadline, because obviously when it's a chaos on the field, when you are not managing quality, when you are delivering poor result to your end customer or to the wholesaler you are working for, it's something that is absolutely not comfortable. So the second position is, okay, I need to meet my deadlines. And then we are seeing that reducing the number of on-site and remote audits is not something that is that significant. A small proportion of our account have a very high quality standard practice, but it's a few of them. And in such a situation, they have contacted us because they really wanted to keep having high quality results, high quality policy, but they wanted to reduce the number of on-site visits. And then what we see is that most of the people that are interested in this study, I've not seen the audience because it's managed by the FTTH Council, but are operators that are in the stage of the rollout of the fiber network. So they are not yet concerned by the quality problems that will occur when people will be connected, when the network will be made sure, and they will face more and more quality issues and more customer service calls from end customers, particulars that are connecting and have troubles with their box. An interesting story, in France, we have 4 or 5 customers, and one of them are super advanced in their deployment. They have connected millions of customers, and now more than 50% of the people they have in the field is dedicated to customer service calls, customer service problems. So it's to understand the weight of the quality after a few years can be extremely high in your operational cost. So if you manage to deploy your network right, to do the job right always when you are in the field, you will also avoid this last problem, the cost of quality. But it's not the main concern of our prospect, and we see that now of the ecosystem. So back to the results. In these key result slides, I just wanted also to give you an overview of the cost, because those projects, in average, they have a cost. And the average cost explained by the customer was a little bit more than $900,000 over 3 years. You can see that the implementation is quite high because they were counting everything that is human related in implementation. So if I remember well, they were counting the integration, roadmap, training of their workforce, even the time taken by taking pictures. So the human cost of deploying such project are included in implementation cost, and obviously platform license that the software vendor cost, that's Deepomatic. Then the total benefits were almost $5 million. This number comes after a risk discount. So when we were calculating the revisit benefit, they applied 50% of risk adjustment. So our customer were more saying, okay, we have benefit. We see $10 million of benefits out of 3 years. But what's the part of Deepomatic? What's the responsibility of Deepomatic over 3 years? They said it was 50%. So it was like more than, it was $4.2 million. And then a 15% discount was applied on labor quality control savings, because here it was mainly because of Deepomatic that they were able to rationalize the cost of quality control. So the discount and the risk adjustment was only 15%. It allows our customer to calculate a payback time, which is 6 months. And I think that this is the most impressive thing about these results. Okay, 4 times is interesting. It's especially interesting when you see that most of the benefits were not included in the calculation. But what is important for our customer is to make sure that they get within a year, they are paid, and they are reimbursed for their investment. And I think that it's probably one of the most impressive results. So you can see that over 3 years, obviously, the benefits in black are much higher than the cost. How does it work? But it's only repeating what I've just said. In average, that's a 423% return on investment, which simply means that it's a technology that is mature. And I'm happy to say that I'm happy to discover that a competition is now appearing in the market. 2 years ago, we were alone. Now you can find 2 or 3 good companies working for you in computer vision, which shows that there is a market, there is a maturity, and that you can trust this technology to implement quality at scale, to save cost on your quality control process, to accelerate the deployment of your network, and obviously to reduce the cost of revisit. Thanks a lot for your attention. And if you have some questions, I'm happy to answer them. Just want to add something. This is a very short summary. The total economic impact document that was issued by Forrester is more than 10 or 20 pages of detailed work, full explanation of the methodology, and it's available on the website of Deepomatic. It will be made available tomorrow. If you want to have a discussion about the assumption, how it was working, the different type of organization behind the study, you can just reach me, send me an email, and I will be happy to explain everything. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Augustin. So I do have some questions coming from the audience. The first one, and I read it precisely as it comes, is can any example be shared where the Deepomatic solution has been used by the field workers during the pre-design survey stage? So not, the rollout and the operation of rolling out, but pre-design survey stage.
Oh, I have one example of one use case. It's not included in this study. But yes, when you design a network, sometimes you receive a map of the network that is supposed to be built, and then you will build and you will issue the has-built documentation. One of our customers is using computer vision and Deepomatic to transform those map plan into a list of equipments that are supposed to be dispatched. They extract additional information, the space between the different type, additional information in the map. And then, and this is a process that was done by the customer, when they have this list, when they have all the information they have extracted, they create automatically work orders.
Okay. But it's not on the field. It's not on the field.
During the design process, when you have designed, so maybe it's not pre-design, it's when you have designed the network, you can use computer vision to issue a list of work orders. So it's definitely not one of our best sellers. It's a corner case, but an interesting use case. Another one, pre-visit use case that I just think about is you can send a short message, text message to your email or text message to the person you want to deploy, to connect the home with the network. And you can ask to the particular, to the end user, a few pictures of their home, of their garden, of the entry door, to facilitate the job of the people that will connect the customer home to the network. And to make sure
visit preparation.
Yeah, absolutely. So that can be used for that also to prepare interventions.
Okay. Very good. Second question, how much time does it usually take to set up the solution and hence getting value out of it? You mentioned 6 months payback, but when you start engaging with Deepomatic, how much time does it take to put in place the system and start having it implemented?
In average, 3 months.
Okay, well, that's a short and good answer. Another question, and please, we have time, so don't hesitate to ask further questions using the question box. Have another question which is related to, can the AI analysis of field photo provide information about the level of degradation of fiber equipment? How precisely can you measure that with your tools?
So in France, this is used a lot like that. It can. The idea is to calculate a health score of, for example, splitters in the street called, so there is a French name, but it doesn't matter. So splitters in the street or street cabinet. For that, you are analyzing a different type of, you're analyzing a lot of different things in the picture. So for example, the number of unplugged cable, do you have waste? Do you have some boxes that are leaning? So you have a lot of different things that you can analyze to understand the status of each and every equipment. And this is something that we are doing to allow the infrastructure owner to prioritize the maintenance of their equipment. This is a good way of using artificial intelligence and computer vision if you want to repair your network. But I would say that the ideal way to understand the health status of your equipment is to use computer vision when it's fully healthy, when it's perfect, to make sure that there is not a single degradation. The mayor of New York was explaining the theory of the first broken glass, and it's the idea. You can use it to make sure that everyone is maintaining the equipment in the perfect shape and to detect immediately if there is something that differs from perfection. So this is the ideal usage scenario, but obviously a lot of our, it's not like that in France, we all know that. The network is quite degraded, and some of our customers are using it to calculate the health score of every single equipment to schedule the maintenance and the repairs.
Okay. I have a question. I'm not sure exactly exactly how to interpret it, but you'll probably know. Can the AI algorithm identify a photo that has been used previously? So I guess,
Yeah.
Is there a way to make sure that you're having the latest vision of the situation?
Yes, the idea, so I understand perfectly the question. One of the big problems when you ask questions to the technician, it is that instead of taking a picture of the job they have done, the field worker, they upload a picture of a job done perfectly in the past to cheat the AI, very simply. So yes, we have a way, and we have released a feature specialized in detecting those kind of situations. And if it occurs, we simply ask to the field worker to take another picture because the picture is a picture of a past intervention.
Okay, very good. So we were talking about design stage, but what are the different applications for the TI model for the case of FTTH deployment? Is it network construction, fiber connection, maintenance? Can you tell more about the variety of application you can apply you can use your solution for?
Just can you explain me what is TI model?
Well, I think I'm not sure because it comes from in the chat, so I will not be able to go back to the person who asked the question. But what I read is it's more about the use case of FTTH and how your solution applies to that.
I think that we have 40% of our customers that are using Deepomatic for network deployment, so the construction stage, analyzing the installation of equipment, trenches, duct, chambers, analyzing how some infrastructures are shared. It happens quite a lot. Often, like in England, this is called PIA. In France, we also share some of the Orange, the historical operator equipment. So when we are building the network, you also have to understand how you are using the network of other historical operators, and it triggers a lot of consequences, financial consequences as well. So construction is 40%. I would say another 40 or maybe 45% in home connection. This is something that is quite big because at this stage, quality becomes critical. It's when you understand that actually you have quality issues. You are not thinking you have quality issues, but you discover the issues at this stage, and it's a key moment where we have a lot of customers. And then we have maintenance, which is 15% of our customers in revenues, maybe more than 15% in number of customers, but in revenues, it's definitely something that is it's not new, but it's not the majority of the use cases, but we have definitely customers over the 3 use cases.
Okay, another question came while you were answering, Augustin. So do any of your customers use Deepomatic in order to make field data to GIS or inventory management system storage data and identify inconsistency? Do you connect with other tools?
Yeah. Oh, yes. We have already deployed. So in the field of GIS, geographical information systems, we have native integrations with both S3, the world leader. S3 has ArcGIS software. And we have also a very good integration and native integration with IQGeo, which is a good challenger of ArcGIS. We also have integration with a lot of other software vendors. We always integrate in the IT landscape of our customers. Deepomatic is rarely, but sometimes, used as a standalone application.
Okay. And I have another question. I mean, it's more my curiosity. When I look at the result of the study by Forrester showing a 6 months return on investment, and you think rightly noticed that it's a very impressive figure everyone would like to see for any investment. how come you don't sell your product to every single operator in the world? So in other words, what could be the concern when you meet a customer in terms of, should I implement that solution? What could be the resistance and the difficulty that some customer might face for the integration of Deepomatic?
Thanks a lot for this good question. So first, we have a good growth year over year. So we don't have all the customers in the world, obviously, but we are satisfied with the trajectory. But most of the time, it's related to the previous question. They have to figure out the full IT landscape, or they think that they have to figure out the full IT landscape before investing in artificial intelligence and in quality control automation, first time right automation. So what we do to allow our customer to embrace this revolution, because this is a revolution sooner, it is that we develop native integration. So we can come in the package when they decide to select a tool such as Praxedo, Site Tracker, for FSM, field service management, or for construction management, or when they have a GIS tool, for example. So the idea is to come when they select their IT basic but critical also IT partner, and come at the same time. And the second thing is that we have heavily invested in our software application. So we have a basic but sometimes sufficient mobile app plus back office systems, allowing us to provide the value directly to the customer. And then we connect Deepomatic to the other IT vendors or IT software that they have selected.
Okay. And maybe another question, maybe correlated to that one, but you bring high-tech solution to operation, which are essentially made by human beings with their psychology, with their way of working, and with their degree of acceptance of new technology and some level of control that this technology are bringing. So you said that you see it as a positive. You said that operators, it can make their life easier and they can be happy with it. Is it always the case, or have you had to take into account resistance to change, because you ask people to do things totally different from what they used to do in the past? So can you elaborate a little bit of how you take the human factor into consideration in the entire experience?
So we absolutely need to engage field workers to drive the adoption of the solution. This is critical. Of course, we face some resistance. That is logic, because they don't want to feel Deepomatic as a big brother. So there are several ways to address this point. First, more and more over the past 5 years, we have worked to be the best friend of the field worker. Like when we are working on the product, we always think about the field worker first, and then about the managers that will have the result in the back office, to make sure that this is adopted. And this is something that is absolutely critical. If you don't receive the good picture, you won't get any benefit. And moreover, if there is a resistance, your customer will not be able to force them to embrace the solution, because they need the field workers. So they won't fire them because they don't use the solution. We need to find a way to make sure it's used. It's not an option. It's something that is a concern and has been worked out for 5 years. So UX is critical. Explaining that the results are not individualized is something that works very well as well. Most of the time, they were already taking picture, to be honest, and they are used to it. You only implement a feedback, so it's not that difficult. So many additional ways, but mostly the convenience, the user experience, plus the fact that by design, it's not something that is used to spy on the individual performances.
Interesting. And do you see any difference country by country. I mean, the situation of deployment of fiber is relatively diverse. The method of construction and deployment of fiber can differ quite significantly, whether you're in Germany, in Spain, or in the US. So, any takeaway from the variety of country you've been operating with?
Yes, definitely. So, in Switzerland, for example, it's not a cliche, but it was really bring forward in a very democratic way. They took the time to discuss with each one of their subcontractor, to have group workshop, to adapt the solution, to make sure it was understood. And we have seen other geographies, and especially in LATAM, where it was more like, okay, you have to use the technology. And actually, what we have seen is that the adoption was taking the same time. But it was much more painful when you try to force the people, because if you force the people, you will face rejection, and then you are back to the same page, and you have to find other way to convince people to use the technology. So we have seen different way, and we have seen what works, what doesn't work. We have seen differences between cultures. That's very interesting.
Okay, thank you very much. I don't see any additional question. Maybe a last word of conclusion before you will conclude, Augustin, with your last word. But at the FTTH Council, we realize increasingly that quality matters. And it comes from multiple angles. The quality of the product is one. Not only the robustness, but the way they are designed to facilitate field operation is also very important. And clearly, it's really nice to see that smart application like yours can complement all the work that our members and the industry in this field are making to ensure as much as possible that the fiber network we built are there to last and provide satisfaction for the end user. Maybe a few words of conclusion before we wrap up.
Yes, absolutely. I just wanted to say and to announce that Deepomatic is officially has a mission officially in our status, our company papers. So the mission of Deepomatic is to bring quality back at the heart of field operations. So it's really on topic, and I just wanted to share this news because I'm quite proud of it for my company and for my employees. So to show you that it's something that we have not only as a business but also as a mission in the company.
Well, I think this is very much aligned with what our organization is doing. So with that, I would like to thank you so much for your contribution, for the very interesting topic you've been covering. I wish to our audience a very good rest of your day. You will receive invitation to future session on other topic of discussion. So please make sure to stay tuned, and I hope to welcoming you again on one of our events. So thank you very much. Have a good rest of your day. Goodbye.
Goodbye.